Hello everybody, and today we are going to do the beautiful Lighthouse card. Makes a lovely gentleman's card. We are using one of the Card Hut stamps, or you may have the 2J's ones, but this is the one I'm going to use today. It's by the Card Hut and it is just called the Lighthouse. It's by an artist called Dennis Lewin. We are also going to be using the lovely Prescott Charoo die, and this is lovely, and depending which way you use it, if I open it up, if you use it that way it's like, like clouds, and if you use it that way it's like waves, and we're going to be using it so that it's like waves this time. Just turn the camera down and just move these out of the way. Some of you may have this stamp, which I think is the, just let me check, I think that is the 2J stamp. And the others may have, let me get it, that one. All of these will fit with this, this card, so it doesn't matter which one you've got, they'll all work. I'll put my card to a side at the moment, and we'll begin stamping our image. I've put my piece of card approximately 2.5 centimetres down on my stamping platform and right up to the left hand edge. So I'll just get my stamp, and for those that are new to the stamping platform, I use the acetate, the grid acetate, to pop in so I get perfect alignment. I'm aligning mine up to just around this bottom edge. It just fits on nicely, and this will be the same for all your stamps that you're using. So now I'll remove the gridded acetate, and I'm going to use VersaFine because I am going to use watercolour pencils. If you're planning to use alcohol pens, you'll need to use either an archival ink or Memento, or one of the hybrid inks that Tonic do. They will work with the alcohol pens, but I prefer to use VersaFine with watercolour. So I'm just stamping lightly, just making sure that it's got a good covering. Now I may have to do this more than once because I don't manage to get a lot of pressure through my right hand, and I'm afraid I can't do it with my left at the moment, so I may need to just ink it again. Oh no, it's given a good covering. But if you do, that's the beauty of the stamp press. You can stamp over again. So I'm now, so it doesn't mark the felt, I'm putting my gridded acetate on because I'm leaving my stamp on. So I'll move that out of the way, and I'm now going to start and colour. I'm using water brushes. These are by Derwent, but you can have whichever colour, whichever water brushes you like. You can use an ordinary pot with just a water brush, ordinary brush that you dip in, but that is entirely up to you. So I'm starting with a number 1 brush, which is the nice small one, and I'm just going to squeeze it so there's a little bit of water that just comes out. I don't want too much, but I am using, it's a nice fawny colour because I don't want it too dark, and I'm going to start doing just the body of the lighthouse. Just wants a nice wash, and you need to decide really which oh excuse me, which side the light's coming from. I'm doing mine that the light is coming from the left, so the left side will be just a little bit darker than the right. Doesn't need to be a heavy wash, just enough to colour it nicely. And just do this bit down here. And because I want it now from the left, so the light is coming from the right, should I say, so I want the left just that little bit darker. So I'm just going to pull a darker colour across. It just gives it the impression that it is rounded, so it is not a flat image. But just pulling this across, just gently. They don't have to be all definite straight lines. They can just, it doesn't matter if you go over the edge because you are going to be cutting this out. So just doing it like that, fading it across nicely. So this side of the door will be darker. And again, just a tiny little bit at that side of the door as well. So as you can see there, that is coming rather nicely. It just gives it the impression that it's rounded. I'm going to do the lower half of the house with the same beige colour, so that it's like a nice stone. And again, it just fade it out nicely. And I've done that so it was darker on this side because the light is coming from that way. So obviously this side would not be light. And then run the light just gently across. Maybe just slightly bit darker that side. And I'm going to use a nice, it's like a terracotta. It's called Venetian Red. I'm using the Faber-Castells. The other one was called a burnt ochre, and it was rather nice colour for this. But on this one, I'm using the Venetian Red, and I'm going to do this just on the roof. Then I'm going to be doing the bricks on the wall. Doesn't want to be too heavy. So I'm just going to work over. So there's like a lovely terracotta roof tile. So there, I think I might just have a little bit more on. And I'm going to do the roof of the lighthouse also with the red. And let me see, I think I might actually do this strip that comes around here in red as well. So I'm just going to pop that to a side. Actually, no, I want these. I'm going to do the bricks now. Sorry about that. So just, they don't want to be bright red, but just enough that you can see a change in colour. Just dab it, just little bits where the bricks are. And nearly there. Just this, nearly down to the bottom. A little bits just on the base there. And pop that to the side as well. I've just got a piece of paper towel that I'm just going to clean my brush on. So now we're going to do the lovely blue for the doors and windows. Just think it might, just lift it a little bit with a nice bright colour. And like that. And like that. So that's there, as you can see now. That has completed the lighthouse and the little house at the side. I'm now going to go on to the sea, And in the sea, I'm going to go onto the next size brush. If I can get the lid off. Again, just run some water through. If you're not certain how the colour's going to come out, just run some bit on the waste card. So I'm doing this just gently because I'm going to go over with a second colour. So I want that to be run out of the colour just so that it's not as dark. Just run it out nicely. And then I'm going to go on to a green, and this is it's a bluey green. It's really nice. So if you can see, I've got the two shades. This will bring the highlights into the water. It doesn't have to go all over, just little bits here and there, just to bring out some of the highlights. Just run it into the corner. So I might just have a little bit more on the green at this side. But you still want to leave some of the blue showing. So if you can see there, we've now got the sea. Working on the base of the green, I'm going to start first of all with it's a mid-green. This is called earth green, yellowish. So I'm just going to make sure my brush is clean. Again, using the bigger one. Make sure I put my lid back on the other one. And again, just to see how much green it is, because we'll then put highlights in with the darker colour. And you just, well, I know it sounds daft, but you sort of just splodge it on, really, because you'll be bringing the highlights out with a dark green, more of a moss green, that will make it look more natural. There'll also be probably some little bits of browning. So just want to work over these. And again, just here before it drops down onto the sand. And just working my way down the side of the path. And here is this a bush, so I'm just going to go on that as well. And on that little bush there. Then I'm going to go on to a dark green and just try it again, see how dark it is. And so then I want some highlights in these. Just filling it out. It doesn't not to be a lot, but just enough to give it a bit of a mixed colour. And just a bit in front of the house. Put in slightly darker there as the line of the earth so that it just separates off from the other. And I'm just going to dab this just like little spots so it's sort of indicating a texture. And again, doesn't want to be a lot, just little ones dabbed so it indicates texture. And again, on this one down at the bottom. Doesn't want to be a lot, but just a little bit like that. And again, just cleaning my brush off because I want to go on to the grey next for the path, and just want to, it's quite a light grey, so you've got to sort of maybe add 2 or 3 layers to get it darkened. So while that dries, I'm going to go onto this rock here and give a light coating of the grey on there first. Also on this rock here. And there's some little bits of stone just in there. And I think I might actually bring some of the sea into this lower bit as well. So maybe just pull some more round. It's coming. Just coming round the rocks. Now we can use some of the darker green. This seems to be a bit lighter at this side because obviously it's a bit shallower. So that's up there's the darker layer. I'm just going to clean my brush off, and I'm going to now run the sand. It's like a dune really, so this just wants to be pale. And right down this side. Down like that, just run it across. It doesn't want a lot. Going to just start and go a little bit darker up underneath, as if there's an overhang of the green, just so it creates a bit of a shadow. Don't want to be too dark, but just enough to create a bit of a shadow, and then just gently blend it down. And finally, it is just adding a bit more grey now it's had chance to settle and dry. It's just, don't have to do it all over, but just put odd little patches of the darker colour. And again here. And on that, I'm going to add some of the darker green because I think it's sort of like, I wouldn't say a moss, but maybe some seaweed that's attached to it. And just run it down there. And finally, I am just going to add just some little red dots as if there's some flowers just down the side of the little path. Doesn't want to be a lot, but just to give the indication of flowers. Now I'm going to cut this out. I'll just put my things to the side. And it is quite easy to cut out. So just dry off here so everything doesn't get wet. And oops, I'm just going to very gently, I'm using my, as if I'm undercutting, I'm just keeping my scissors tilted, and it just helps to give a cleaner edge. Just slightly cutting into the black line. If you want to cut it so there is a white edge all the way around, that's entirely up to you. I don't always have a lot of success doing that. Sometimes mine looks a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I'm not taking off the sides yet, but I'm now going up to just taking some of the bulk of the card off, and then I'll go on to smaller scissors to cut the rest off. So then go on to my little cheapy scissors, and I'll bring my pointy ones in as well. And again, just as if I'm undercutting, just cutting gently into the black line all the way around. And again, they're fairly easy to cut out. And always remember, it's not your scissors that you move, it's your card that you move. And then just work your way around. Oh, I've just realised I have missed some blue on there. Let's get my brush. I do apologise. That should have had some of the blue, just very lightly. Just doing the bit there to indicate like a glass. It doesn't want to be dark. Completely forgotten about that. Sorry about that. And just work round. I might go quiet at the moment because I want to just concentrate on cutting around this little top on here, because quite often I end up cutting it off. So I just want to cut very, very gently. I've cut it off. But what you can always do, if you want, you could just add a little bit to it. It's not that important, isn't that little bit? I have still got a little bit. And just work the way down this other side. And then over the trees or the hills, I don't know which they are, I think the bushes. I'm saying the bushes anyway, there may be hills in the background. And just taking that up to there. So I'll leave my scissors at that side, get rid of my bits and pieces. Now, as I say, I am not going to cut these sides off yet, because when you get to this stage, you can either put it underneath this blue layer, or you can cut it so that it just sits in. So I'm going to pop that to a side, and we'll go on now to putting the card together. So you've got two cards exactly the same in your white. These measure 21 by 18, so we want to run our score line to join the cards up. And again, using the easy scoreboard, I'm scoring on line 1, which gives approximately a 2 centimetre border. And move that away. I always fold mine just backwards and forwards to make sure that it's moving free. And get my tape. As I said before, I always run my first line of tape right up to the score line. I found this out when I was demonstrating samples on the TV shows, that they frequently got opened and closed, and after a time this started to pull apart. And obviously, if you give a card to somebody and they want to keep it, you don't want it parting company with its back, do you? So that is why I always run mine right up to the score line. So the line up to the score line, I fold inwards towards the inside of the card, and the outside edge I fold outwards. And as I'm right-handed, I always start in the top left and match that corner up and take it down, hold it down and pull out my tape. Gently ease your card open. Oops. Find your little bit of tape and pull that out, so that now when you open it, there is no pull on that edge. So that is your card base. My card colour is slightly different to yours because I ran out of this dark blue and I was waiting for some more coming in. So I had to go for the nearest one, and so I had to choose a lighter blue as well. And I've chosen the more of the turquoisey colour of the... If I explain, on the ombre card, it starts off quite dark, almost like a dark blue at the top, which yours has been cut so the dark blue is showing. I've taken mine a bit further down so it turns in better with the base card that I'm using. I'll pop that there. What we're going to do is we're going to put this card onto the back of this, and as I said, you can either use it, if you want it to look like clouds, do it so the shape is going upwards. If you want it to look like waves, do it with them going downwards. I want them to look like waves, so I'm doing it going downwards. So I'm just going to run tape just round, right up to the edge of the pattern. Doesn't want to be right onto the outside at this point. Just want it to come right up to the edge. So this is where we will mat and layer the ombre card onto it. And just wait around. I'm just using a 6mm tape for this. It's better to use a good strong tape on this ombre card because it does take a little bit to hold it firm. So again, just going to turn my edges outwards on alternate corners. So I've got two corners free that I can position with. Or on this, as I say, I'm wanting them going down. So the palest colour is coming to the bottom. And then I want to balance this just gently over the top so that fits nicely over your pattern cutout. Oops. So as you can see there, I've got it so the blue's coming down to like a grey at the bottom. What I'm going to do next, and you may think this is weird, I'm going to position my lighter blue, which on yours will be this shade. I'm going to use a pencil. All I'm going to do is, if I just mark this, get it balanced, just mark each corner. It's just so that you've got a guideline of where to put your card. So as you can see there, those two, if I make, what I will do on this, I will going to draw a line just so that you've got the indication. So I draw that like that. So that, as you can see, I've got, that is in line. If I, oops, hang on, if I just hold it up so you can see. Those dots there are in line with the edge of the cutout. And again, on this side, it will be the same top and bottom. That may sound a bit weird, but that is where you're wanting to actually position your card. So I'm going to pop this on with some tape. all the way around. Like this. Just round like that. Making sure that I've got my card opening the right way and that my waves are going in the right direction. Turn my corners out. And so we know now that we need to come in the width of this panel, this outside panel, and that needs to go above that line. So we've got that there, so we need to come across about there. Get it lined up straight. Before you stick it down fully, just pop your card on just to make sure that you've got it in line. Oops, that stuck that side a bit. I didn't want it to stick. So I think that's about it there. Then, yeah, that's just, there will be just a narrow bit on either side of your, just showing. So don't worry, it doesn't come literally right up to it. So I'm quite happy with that. I'll pull out the tapes. Just going to pop this to a side now. Now this is where, if you want to put your lighthouse panel behind that one, this is where you would stick it down now on this, so that when you put this over on your foam tape, that is behind. I actually cut it down on this one, but on this one I'm going to stick it behind. So I just want a little bit of tape just on the outside edge here. You can do it with glue, it's entirely up to you. I just find it easier with a bit of tape. And take off the little bits of tape here, making sure that this is turned over so that you've got it on the right side, and then you can position this just where you want it. So I'm just going to pop mine like that, and then that is stuck down there. We will put some foam tape just on this when we actually stick it to the card. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the top layer, which will then go round like that. So again, I'm just using tape, ordinary double-sided tape. I use the stronger one because obviously I don't want these drying out. It gets quite warm in here, and I find that sometimes these tapes do dry very quickly and then they come loose. So it's either this or use liquid glue, but not too much that it's going to warp your card. So pop that down like that. Oops, there we are. And again, just turning alternate corners back. Oops, didn't want to come off, didn't that one? So we can now work out roughly our nice border. When you're happy, just press your corners down, and then you can pull your tape out. Oops. And then we'll then go on to the foam tape. I'll just fetch my foam tape, And I'm going to start with putting some onto the actual lighthouse. You just work underneath a little bit, just down the centre, and then I'm just going to pop some bits just there to actually balance it. It doesn't want a lot, but just enough so that it doesn't sink inwards. And then run your tape up quite to the edge. Just come about 1/2 centimetre in from the edge. And that's that. And that one. Put that over there. I'm going to take these pieces off fully, and I will add a little bit of glue onto those, just so they don't grab as soon as I try to position the frame, because it does create a bit of static and it'll grab, and we don't want that. So just some odd bits, dabs of glue. And also just around the corners where you've peeled it back, just takes off the static. Well, then I'm going to bring my card over and just balance. Oops. So it's just want that, so it's about the same amount at the top. Oops. Trying to see straight, it's that's that. Then you can pull your tape out. Those of you that have got the Dennis Lewin one, you'll find that excuse me, that excuse me, there are some nice sentiments. So there's a place in this by the sea. Oh, excuse me. Keep smiling, or see you soon. You can use any sentiment you like, but that is the card we've done today. That is the original sample. So I hope you enjoyed making these, and don't forget, share your makes, because there is a lovely prize, and it is one of the, if I'll just reach it over, it is the lovely, that is the prize that will go with this one, which is a lovely 3D folder by Nellie Snellen, and it is the lovely text. So make sure you share them for a chance to win a lovely prize, and I hope to see you on the next video, which will be let me see, the canard dies. So enjoy, and enjoy crafting. Take care, everybody. Bye.